James Blade, your dance moves are almost as bad as your wrestling moves, and your theme music is even worse. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the first ever episode of Paradox Talks. I am your host, Paradox, and today we're going to be talking about another backyard wrestling federation who call themselves VBW, Vancouver Backyard Wrestling. This all started when Mr. Judgment uploaded video to his channel calling out all backyard wrestling federations. James Blade was quick to reply. I am opening a challenge to you, Mr. Judgment. GOAT James Blade versus Mr. Judgment on VBW Wednesday Warfare. I would also like to make this clear that Mr. Judgment didn't send me to make this video, and I am not advocating Mr. Judgment in any way or form. I also don't think he's the greatest in backyard wrestling. I simply don't respect and I don't appreciate the fact that we have two people from a great backyard wrestling federation of the VBW disrespecting all other backyard wrestling feds. And I have to say, James Blade, I watched episode 10 of the chopping block, and it is easily one of the worst videos I've ever seen. And here's why.
Only one, baby.
So he greets us in the introduction of his video with some horrible dance moves along with some horrible music. He's obviously got his closest relative that he could find to hold the camera as shakily as possible for us. He keeps looking up into the corner of his living room for some reason. I'm not sure if there's like a spider and he has a terrible arachnophobia or what it is, but he can't even make eye contact with the camera as he's speaking to the people, as he's talking to his fans. And a lot of times that means there's no sincerity in what he's saying. As he's talking about the VBW, he discusses how he lost his VBW championship to the human sausage, Jimmy Dean. Something else I noticed was going through his channel, James Blade's channel, his own personal channel, not the VBW channel. I watched a few of his matches. I wanted to get a good idea of his wrestling ability in the ring, and I was having a hard time actually finding a match that he actually won. I watched I'd say about 5 videos, and he lost to Jimmy Dean several times. I didn't even find a video where he did beat Jimmy Dean. And he lost in a triple threat match against Eric Cage and some other jobber, I don't remember his name.
Now, anyway, I'll get back to the VBW a little bit here. So recently, I've been online doing a little bit of surfing, and some long-time backyard wrestlers are deciding to talk about me.
Deciding to talk about you. Actually, you commented on Mr. Judgment's video. He didn't mention you at all. You responded to him, so he responded to you.
Mr. Judgment, he calls himself. Mr. Judgment. You know, if you see what this guy looks like, he looks like Jared from Subway.
Oh yes, Mr. Judgment and Jared from Subway are commonly mistaken with each other. They're parallel, identical twins, basically. They must have been separated at birth. That's a good, fair point you have there. It's a good thing you mentioned that, because now that I see that Mr. Judgment looks like Jared from Subway, I'm not going to enjoy his wrestling anymore. That makes him a poor wrestler, and that makes you even better than Mr. Judgment, because he resembles Jared from Subway. Thank you for making that distinction, James Blade.
The only difference between Jared from Subway and you, Mr. Judgment, is Jared has no choice to suck cock. You know, you do it because you like to. You do it because you love the taste. And, the taste of cock is very, very tasty, isn't it, Mr. Judgment? You love that taste. You have to keep going back and back for more and more.
Fair point again, James Blade. Well played, well played. Mr. Judgment says he's the greatest backyard wrestler in the world, and he wants somebody to prove him wrong. Steps up our hero, James Blade, and he says, Mr. Judgment likes to suck cock. Very, very well thought out argument. I'm glad you brought it to the table. Opened my eyes quite a bit.
Trying to come after me to make a name for yourself. No one makes a name off of Goat Chase Blade. No one. Including you. Most of all, you.
He says Mr. Judgment's trying to come after him to make a name for himself, but I don't understand that because he actually found Mr. Judgment's video and chose to comment and respond. And I said this already, but Mr. Judgment wasn't targeting him specifically at all. He didn't come after the VBW. He didn't target James Blade whatsoever. James Blade is attacking Mr. Judgment.
One VBW World Championship is worth at least 100 of any other backyard wrestling feds. And the bottom line is you know it. So you, honestly, Mr. Judgment, you're not even worth talking about, bro. Step aside.
Well, that was extremely blatant and hypocritical. He says, you're not even worth talking about, bro, after he just spent time in his series talking about him. And he also basically just shits on every other backyard wrestling federation in existence by saying their championship is worth at least 100 of every other fed's championships. I'd like to know how James Blade came to this conclusion, because you can't grade a championship based on the federation alone. You have to see the talent that every fed has to offer. You have to grade the wrestlers individually and see this one's more talented than this one. This championship was won by this one.
So there's another kid. There's a kid here. Sorry, Mr. Judgment, not a kid. He's old. He's garbage basically. But there's a kid that got into the argument online, and his name is BVP, Bryce Von Pelt, or whatever your name is, if that's your name, kid. Oh, you're so cute. Oh, you're such a cute little boy. Oh, you see why you're bouncing around. Do you want a doggy treat?
So then he goes on to talk about another wrestler from another backyard wrestling federation named BVP. James Blade decides to mock BVP by calling him a cute little boy and offering him a doggy treat. Obviously, this man is mentally insane. I've never heard of feeding a child dog treat, but I don't think it's very healthy. And I hope James Blade isn't allowed to be around children if he's offering them dog food.
Do you want a doggy treat? Oh, yes, you little 16-year-old boy. To the curb. Oh, man. I'm gonna have some more of this because
I really hope this man gets sent to a mental asylum as soon as possible. Not only does he not bring up any valid points in his video as to why he's the greatest of all time, but his video is disorganized because he starts talking about the VBW, and then he starts talking about other backyard wrestling feds, and then he starts talking about the VBW again. And it's just this huge discombobulated disorganization of nonsensical arguments that lead to nothing. James Blade got one of his buddies from the VBW to release his thoughts on Mr. Judgment and this whole fiasco, and to be fair, this was a horrible idea because it was even worse than the first video that I saw, and this is most definitely the worst video I've ever seen in my entire life.
Hey, it's me, it's Ice Cold Leon.
So this time James Blade found the nearest homeless man in Canada and had him speak his thoughts on Mr. Judgment. And for some reason, this video is even more shaky cam than the last one. The person holding the camera must have Parkinson's.
But the fact is, I hear you're talking shit about the VBW and our former champ.
And he goes on to say that Mr. Judgment was talking shit about the VBW, when in fact, Mr. Judgment, the only thing he said about the VBW was he actually had respect for the VBW, because it has been running for a long period of time. It is a high production quality backyard wrestling federation, and I don't think many people have anything against the VBW as a whole. But Mr. Judgment, all he said was he didn't have respect for James Blade.
Be able to beat you because, well, I'm not that fucking, I don't suck that bad to fucking have to wrestle.
With all the frequent pauses and slurs and the amount of times this guy mumbles over his own words, it's really an unbearable video to watch, and it's even hard for you to make out sometimes what he's saying. And so it's kind of hard to do an analysis of it, but basically I'm pretty sure he was drunk while he was doing this.
Jump around like little kitties.
Yeah, that's right, Mr. Cameraman, you're right. There, jumping around like fucking kitties.
Like this, up and down and bouncing around.
For some reason they got Mickey Mouse to hold the camera for this video.
That's funny, Mr. Cameraman, but yeah, that's right. I'm not used to jumping around like a little child.
Like seriously, this guy can't even get his thoughts out. He has to have Mickey Mouse jump in with commentary every once in a while just to give him a hint as to what to say. This guy can't think for himself. He can't speak for himself. With as uncoordinated and clumsy as he is over his own words and his own thoughts, I would have to assume that his own wrestling is just even as bad, if not worse. Then he tells us about how he has more STDs in just his pinky finger than all of the prisons in the United States of America. Listen here, bub. I got something to say to you, rice mold Freddie Allen. I'm pretty damn sure I've got more intelligence in my pinky toe than you two have combined.
That said, it's also fact I hear that you're 56-time chump.
No,
Not
no,
champ.
no, correction, Eddie Allen. It's 56 time bitch. Bitch.
Yeah, bitch, chump,
Same
fucking
thing.
cunt, slut,
Same
whatever.
thing. Same
He's
thing.
a fucking whore. You're a fucking whore. All you fucking care about is...
This man's vocabulary doesn't seem to expand very far out of the range of offensive language and swear words.
Excuse me? Before my friend saw your video and he let me see it.
Excuse me, before my friend saw and he posts and Mr. Judgment let me see it, the comment that James Blade posts video. What? What the hell are you trying to say, buddy?
I didn't even know who the hell you guys were.
I didn't know who the hell you were until I saw this horrible ass video. I still don't know who the hell you are. Pretty sure you're still just a homeless man that James Blade found on the street.
So, I don't even know why I was even talked into trying to respond to your stupid video and your bash, but
It didn't take much talking. You saw it and you wanted to fuck his asshole. And show him who the real man is.
I'm glad Mickey Mouse said it so that I didn't have to.
you suck, so I don't even know why the hell I even did this, but
I don't even know why in the hell you even did it either. It just made you look bad. It was horrible, and it wasted my life.
so,
No, you're not gonna say what the heck. Come on, Eddie. Listen, Mr. Judgment is just like Jared from Subway.
Again, identical twins.
I've got over, I don't know, actually I've kind of lost track how many fans I've got.
I don't know, I've kind of lost count. You've probably lost count because you never learned how to count past the number 3.
But I've got so many fucking fans, I don't even know how many. I've lost track. Just like the VBW's got so many fans, I've lost track.
I don't feel like making a valid argument about this guy. Maybe if this guy lays off the methamphetamines and puts down the crack pipe and starts to make more sophisticated sentences, I'll make a proper analysis of him in the future. That's all we have today for this episode of Paradox Talks, and next time we're going to be talking about some other backyard wrestling federations known as the UBW and the WBW, and most of all, BVP.